First question, Mark Berman.
Hey, Stephen, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Well, since, obviously health has been a major issue for you, is there anything different from what we've been told in terms of who's available tonight beyond Daniel being out, that kind of thing?
No, Daniel's out, and Ben, although he tweaked his ankle and wasn't able to do much yesterday, he's available to play tonight.
Who's that?
Ben McLemore.
Ben, okay. Well, since I have you here, I guess the players who've talked the last couple of days have been asked these questions, but for you, is in the way you terms of how you look at this game, it's just another game on the schedule because it's the Lakers and could be considered a barometer. How do you look at this game?
That's a good question. I've been preparing as it's just, another challenge for our group. Every game presents its own challenges, obviously, with this being the Lakers and with the talent that they have on this team, they present more challenges than your average team. So there has been a little bit more in-depth research and study when it comes to figuring out how to stop this team. So I guess if that means that it's the level of importance feels a little bit more, that's probably why, because you have to put more into figuring out how to combat the talent that this team has and the problems that they present.
Jonathan Fagan.
Hey, Stephen. Obviously, another game in the NBA postponed today. You've been there. How is that form of disruption, obviously unprecedented, compared to the other things that coaches deal with that routinely come up in a season?
I mean, it's hard to say. When it happened to us, it was just kind of like, now what? What does this mean? What are we going to do? The first thing you think about is the health of the group and the health of your players and making sure that everybody's okay. But then you try to figure out the logistical part of it. Like, okay, so are we allowed to practice? Are we allowed to get together? Are we, when is the game going to be rescheduled? All of those things come into play. So it just kind of like just puts a halt to everything, and your focus goes from this game preparation, this opponent, to our group and how we're going to kind of handle and negotiate this next 24 to 48 hours. And it's not an easy thing. It's, as you said, it's like nothing that you ever had to experience before. When I was in Cleveland with LeBron his rookie year, and we might have been his rookie year or second year. We had a game in Nova Scotia. The game was canceled because of the leakage from the ice, or the condensation from the ice. And that was like a big deal, and now this is something that could happen anytime, anywhere. And it's just one of those things you kind of have to deal with.
Thank you.
Cody Davis.
Hey, Coach. As of right now, Anthony Davis is listed as questionable, but in an event that he does play, especially alongside Marc Gasol, is this the type of game we would see you use the lineup where we see Demarcus Cousins and Christian Woods? I know that's a question you've been asked a lot of times already.
I knew you were going to ask that question. It's possible. It's possible. That's all I got for you.
Mark Berman.
And Stephen, I'm sure you've heard this kind of question before too, maybe when you're an assistant, that kind of thing. But when you're putting together your work and drawing up things, how do you draw up stuff to stop a guy like LeBron, who is essentially unstoppable?
Well, it's hard. I've been in situations where playing against him, we've tried to make him a scorer, and he scored 60 points. And then there's times where you double team him and try to make it hard on him to score. And his greatness is everywhere, but very much in his passing. So preparing for him is hard. You really want to do the basics, right? Don't allow him to get points in transition. Make sure that you're building a wall so he can't find his way to the rim. Doing things to where you're not fouling, defending without fouling, and putting him on the free throw line so he's getting free points, making him work for every basket that he gets. But, as you're saying, it's a hard task. And I've seen pretty much every type of, because I've played him in the playoffs a couple times and seen every type of kind of defense that you can put on him. And he's so smart, he just figures it out. So you can't give him a steady diet of the same thing, but also realizing that he's so good at making his teammates better. It's like, pick your poison.
Jonathan Fagan.
Stephen, we've seen some of James switching out onto big men in the low post. Not a ton, though, because there's been less switching. Well, Marc Gasol being one of the first back in the Memphis days that he routinely matched up with. What's your general feeling about using him in that way?
He's really good down there. I mean, he's very technically sound when it comes to his foot positioning and his not allowing guys to get to the middle of the floor, and he's really good with his hands. So I have no problems with him switching on to a bigger guy. I think last game he switched on to Vucevic and got a steal. So him guarding bigger guys in the post isn't really too much of an issue for us, just because he's so good at it.
Beyond switching, though, is that an assignment that you would be comfortable with, or do you like to keep him more on the perimeter?
That'd be something that I think about as we go along. I'm trying to build this thing in a way where we're trying to install our base and kind of stick to it and make sure we get good at it before we move on to the next thing. But time is moving. Games are coming, so that's something that might be in the future for sure.
Thank you.
Brian Bearfield.
Coach, this question is a kind of away from today's game, but how good does it feel being able to just prepare for games and prepare for practice and not having to deal with the off the court noise that's being, that's played out in the media or through social media about trade talks and unhappiness and things like that?
It's good, I guess. I mean, I've had to answer a handful of questions. Even when I first got here, there was more questions about it and about the stuff going on off the floor. And I tried to really just concentrate on the things that I can control. And I've always done that. So yeah, it's great to kind of concentrate on game prep and our team and ways that we can make things better and ways that we can help our guys be more effective on both ends of the floor. But as far as the off the court stuff, that's really kind of out of my control. So I've done my best to just let it happen and control the things I can control.
Dan
Thank
Wakey. Sorry, Dan Wakey.
Hey, Stephen. How far along in kind of, it's such obviously a long road back for Demarcus. How far along is he in terms of just looking comfortable on a day-to-day basis out there and kind of shaking off, what essentially is, a few years of rust?
Yeah, he's getting better. Seems like every game, every day. I'm not sure how he feels about it. He feels like, in the conversations that I've had with him, he feels like he's getting there, and he is supremely talented, and he was supremely talented before the injuries, and his injuries slowed him down, obviously, and it made it a little bit harder. But he still can shoot the basketball. He still puts pressure on the defense. He's still a very good passer. So, he's a joy to coach, and as far as how far he is from where he was, that's really not a question for me, because I wasn't. I mean, when I was in Charlotte, he gave us 56 one night, so I saw that. But as far as how he's feeling in relation to where he can be, that's probably a better question for him.
Mike Trudell.
Hey, Stephen, I just wanted to ask you about the balance on offense between James Harden and John Wall, and how that is discussed, and how many times you want initiation from a certain side or a certain player. What's the balance there for you with your squad?
Yeah, I mean, we try to just let them kind of figure it out. If I were going to be the one to say, okay, John, you're going to have it 5 times, and then James, you're going to have it 5 times, and then early sub, and James, you're going to handle it the whole time, and then next sub, John, you're going to handle it the whole time. It really takes the freedom and the kind of spirit out of the game to me. And this is this group especially, but every group, you know, you have to have a rhythm to the game. So when you're trying to like kind of force things, especially when it comes to who's initiating and who is receiving the actions, it works better to me when they're figuring it out on their own, and I'm just kind of helping them, guiding them, pushing them certain different ways. But these guys have been in the league a long time, and they're veteran players, and it seems like they're learning each other with each and every game, and that's the goal, to where we won't have to have certain play calls so each individual guy can feel like they're a part.
Dave McMiniman.
Hey, Stephen, first of all, congrats on the gig. I want to take you back to 2003. I wonder if you have any memories or recollection of conversations you might have had with your dad all the way back then about this bright young talent he was coaching in Cleveland and LeBron, and if anything stands out to you about that time period of his career.
Good question, Dave. Yeah, I mean, when we first got him, we were like, we didn't really know what we had, you know, like everybody's talking about this kid, and he was going to be the next whoever, the next Jordan or whatever. And I remember that summer I coached the summer league team, and LeBron was my point guard on the summer league team, and it was him and DeJuan Wagner and Sagana Job, who's on my staff right now, and Darius Miles and Carlos Boozer. That was my starting 5, and just the things he was doing, even in summer league, and it wasn't even like he was really good, and he could really pass, but he had this confidence about him that it was like just normal, you know. He just had that swagger before that was even really like a term, and he just made everybody else better and was so smart, and I remember conversations with my dad like, hey, I think we got something here. But around that was the basketball part. But then, you know, our first summer league game in Orlando was to a sold out arena because they moved it from wherever they usually have the summer league games, so we could play the Orlando Magic in the first summer league game in the arena at the time. And it was packed, and there was so much just hoopla around him, and he was so grounded at the same time. It was just really amazing because it was prior to social media. It was prior to a lot of stuff that happens now, but he was great on the court, and even better dealing with all of the things. I can't even imagine being 18, 19 years old and dealing with what he had to deal with at that time.
Thanks.
And last question, Jonathan Fagan.
Yeah, just a quick one. Did you win that summer league?
We won that game. we were pretty good. We were a pretty good summer league team, but I don't really remember what our record was.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.